realize is it's a skill. And if you have an open mind to learn the skill, you'll be like, wait a second, I just, lost control in that hallway. What could I have done better? I always felt like when I was training, when I was teaching, I was getting so much better, and I got so much better. Because starting when I was an E5 at SEAL Team 1, and I worked in the training cell at the time, and like you get to see and you get to detach and you get to watch what works and what doesn't work. Did you feel that happening when you were at TradeNet?
Yeah, 100%. And I was listening to your podcast with Carlos to like warm up for this. And I remember we saw some of the same things. And what was like the biggest eye opener to me was like leadership. Like regardless of like where you came from, all leaders were not, you could have this amazing operator that couldn't lead. And that was like the big shocker to me. Because, you'd have these awesome operators. I knew they were awesome, and then I would put them through training, and I was like, oh, man, I am throwing some softballs right now, and you are missing them. And so that was like a big learning lesson on just being a leader of men in combat.
Yeah, and the other thing I think a lot of times people don't realize is it's a skill. And if you have an open mind to learn the skill, you'll be like, wait a second, I just, lost control in that hallway. What could I have done better? Be like, hey, as you start to move, you need to make sure that you move the guys in a methodical way so they don't get out of control. You go, oh, okay. What do you mean methodical? Like that mean, so if you go, okay, cool, got it. Or, hey, you didn't see that there was a really easy solution you could have taken. Instead, you just kept pushing down this hallway to a freaking barricaded shooter down there, and you got 9 of your guys shot up with paintball. Is that good? No, that doesn't seem good. All you had to do was take a step back, look around, and you would have seen that there's another way to prosecute that target. Oh, okay. So take a step back, and you can actually learn that. And so we get to see all kinds of people become better leaders because they were humble, had an open mind, and be like, okay, cool, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I shouldn't be the guy that's like pointing my weapon down the hallway and holding security. You're right, I can't lead when I'm doing that. Cool. And then occasionally you get guys that they don't understand that it's a skill, or they think that they know everything already, and then you're just screwed, dude. It's just like they're going to be bad. And you're right. Someone could be an outstanding shooter, an outstanding assaulter, outstanding freaking machine gunner, an outstanding sniper, and they can still suck as a leader. Most of the time, they can get trained up, but occasionally their freaking ego's too big and they can't adapt and learn, which sucks. So, yeah. Got to watch out for that shit. Got to watch out for that ego. Extreme ownership. It's an idea, but guess what? It's a skill that you learn how to apply so that by the time you are in charge, when your guys throw knives at the wall of the hell box, you know that, oh, if I make a bunch of excuses, I'm going to get in worse trouble and I'm going to look like an idiot. So instead, since I'm the senior guy and I'm responsible, I'm going to take ownership. And that's what you do. But it's a skill. You're not born with it. No one is born with that skill.
You have, and without actively trying, like one of the like guiding people in my life just by like having been around. And this is where honestly I give you credit because this is where I did the ownership thing.
What happened?
We were at the island training, and we had nothing to do, so we found our way into the hell box.
Bro, you're getting a pattern here. Matt Hasby with nothing to do at age 25 is not a good thing. Something's going to be caught on fire, destroyed. Okay, what happened here?
I know. I am. If I look at my, like, as I was writing this, I was like, oh my God. It was almost painful to write at one point because I was like, it took me so long and so many hard lessons to like lock things in. But so we were out at the island and we went to the salty crab, got a little sauced, and then went to the hell box because we were bored. If you know, it's just where the instructors hang out for buds, and nobody was there.
It's like a little clubhouse on San Clemente Island.
Yeah, and it was empty. And so we go into the hell box, and they have these like cutouts of like bikini models, like these cardboard cutouts. And so for some reason in this platoon, we were really good at throwing knives. Like I don't know why. We practice it all the times. Like it was like a scene out of the Desperado when we were on one of our trips. Like there's a board around and dudes are throwing it from 20 feet away and just hammering these things. So we put one of these cardboard cutouts up and we're like sitting around just talking to each other and we were just like tossing knives at these cardboard cutouts. And what we didn't see is when the knife would hit it, the cardboard cutout would swing and hit the cabinets. And again, we were sauced, so obvious, probably super obvious, but we weren't picking it up. So anyway, we don't do too much. That's kind of what happens. We get done, we go back, we got training the next day, or I think it was a day off. That's why we were out that night. And so we just got to like, take care of our gear. And all of a sudden, like, the world blows up. And there's this regular Navy Seabee who's charged with taking care of the island. He had hand-built those cabinets. Ooh. And he had just put them in.
So are there like knife marks in the cabinets?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, check.
Hundreds.
Oh, check.
and so they come, and as you know, in the Navy, like, stories go crazy. Like in the teams. It's insane. It went from like what we really did to we went in and dudes were pissing on the floor and it was crazy.
The rumor mill is impressive.
Yeah, and so I'm getting like, so now it's getting bad, and it was me, the other guy who should have been the entire like leader, like the 3 platoon to 2 platoon group. Again, another group you can't lose. These are like who I surround myself, like strength in numbers, and it's starting to get insane and it's starting to look bad. Like captain's mast is gonna happen. Like, and because this Navy chief, he called the wrong people. Like he called group. He didn't call the team. He called group. He didn't call anybody at group. He called the XO at group. And then he was emotional about these cabinets, so he blew the story up. And he was like, hey, this is what I think's happening. And again, he didn't know, and it's not his fault. Like we wrecked this guy's cabinets. He was emotional, and fair point. And so the XO of group is now on a warpath, and he hits back, and he's looking for blood. He wants captain's mast. We're doing all this thing, and so I go to my boss, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I go over to the hell box, take some pictures? And he's like, yeah. So I take some pictures of these cabinets, and I take pictures of all the hell box, and I send them to the CO at Team 5. And because I'm like, I have to now take control of this situation because it doesn't seem like anybody else is. And we get back, and I go to the CO of Team 5, and he was like, those pictures saved your life.
Damn.
He was like, before you came back, all these stories I was hearing, I believed 100%. I thought you guys were lying, and I took pictures. I'm like, look, now nothing's actually ruined. This is all fine, But we had to do a DRB at Chiefs, a disciplinary review board from the Chiefs. And so it's me and the other senior E6. And me and my buddy are about to walk in. I look at him and I go, don't say a f***ing word. And he looks at me. He's like, I'm just like, do not talk. Do you understand me? And he's like, okay. And so we walk in. He's like, guys, what happened? And I was like, this is what happened. And this was my fault. I was the senior man on, and everything was approved by me. And I remember they were off guard because I think they expected some fight. And they were like, so what? And I was like, hey, this was my responsibility to manage these individuals. I was the leading petty officer on site. This is what happened. This was a miscalculation on my part, and I own everything that happens. And we wore our whites around the team for a week. We had to go out to San Clemente and help that chief do some work for like 5 days, which equated to a lot of spearfishing. But, taking ownership was like, and that was one of those like aha moments in my career where I was like, oh, you don't fight it. Like, you just own it. Like,
yeah. It's one of those things, man. This shit works.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hey, if you want to get into these a little bit deeper, or you want to talk to us directly, you can go to extremeownership.com. You can join our online leadership academy. We talk about this stuff. This stuff is what we live for. And in the meantime, thank you for listening to us. Now go lead.